So when you took a minute just to write down and inventory for yourself what's stressing you, what's causing you stress in your life, some of those things probably came out really fast and really easy. There are probably at least 2 or 3 where you're just like top of mind. It's not going to take long for you to think about it. And the more you start to think about it and add to that list, because there are more lines on the page than what you might have thought was stressing you out, you start to realize that there are all these things that are going on under the surface, all of these things that are causing stress that you may not actually be thinking about or working toward fixing or accepting as you go. So as you look at the list then, I would challenge you to think about the fact that as long as you're not making a choice about whether to accept some of those stressors in your life or to change some of those stressors in your life, it can cause each one of us to feel stuck. It can cause you to feel like you don't have anywhere to move to resolve it. How many of you have a friend or a coworker where they like to call and complain? Get on the phone and talk and talk and talk. I see some hands. I'm sure some of you watching remotely have this experience too. It might be a sister, it might be a friend, it might be a coworker who calls, I guess it could be guys too, right? We shouldn't be gender specific. Who calls and is like, oh my gosh, and then, and at some point you start screening your calls, right? Or you look really busy when the coworker's walking by. Like, please, I can't handle listening anymore to this complaining. The reason that we complain is because we're either trying to process to get to a place of accepting or changing, or we're stuck. So I want you to go back to that list again, and I want you to challenge yourself. Look at each one of those stressors and say, today, should I make a decision to accept that this is just how my life is today? Or should I take steps to actively change it? So let me give you an example. So last week I was on the airplane, feeling a fair amount of stress. I'm like, you know what? I got to inventory it. So I just wrote down really quickly, what are some of the things that are causing me stress? I do this activity on a regular basis for myself, and very often the same things show up on this list, okay? So sometimes I will work on things or accept things that drop off the list, but sometimes these issues plague me for years and years and years and years. They don't cause me stress as long as I'm choosing to accept it or change it. So a quick story, and then I'm going to ask you to do this inventory for yourself. So I turned 40 and started a business at around the same time, which was in 2006, 2007, and that was a really bad time to start a business because we know what happened in 2008. In 2008, I started gaining all kinds of weight. So I'm working a part-time job and putting this business together. I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, I'm not exercising well. I start gaining weight. And I start gaining more weight and more weight and more weight and more weight. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is totally causing me major amounts of stress, right? But I consistently did this inventory and said to myself, right now, today, I have to accept that I am overweight. I have to accept that this is not the time right now for me to be working on this issue. And then 2 years ago, when I did the inventory, I said, you know what? I'm not accepting it anymore. And I took steps to actively change it. It wasn't a stressor as long as I proactively chose to accept it. Does that make sense? I took the energy away from it and just let it be there. I wasn't happy with it, but I let it be. So go back and look at your list and say to yourself, what should I just accept? What should I just accept right now, today? And what do I actually want to be changing? Put an A next to the things you want to accept, C next to the things that you'd like to change.